Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Humanity Works podcast. Welcome back. Glad to have you back today. It's a cold day in Georgia today. The weather finally broke. Woke up this morning to step outside to pick up some food and kind of like one of my Georgia people say, she cold. It was cold as hell. I didn't think it was that cold. So man, listen, welcome back to you all, man. It's been a minute, man. I'm gonna load these episodes up week by week. I'm gonna keep the content coming. Man, again, just been a little bit busy, man. First of all, man, let me do something I haven't done in a while. I want to thank the sponsors of the show. This is Urban Honey. A lot of people be like, man, your skin looks great. It looks clear. You drink a lot of water. I have to give a lot of credit to this company. It's Urban Honey. They based out of Atlanta. They make shea butter creams as well as beard butter and all kind of hygiene type of products. They even have a ball wash for men, believe it or not. So, man, go out and support them, man. Hit them up on IG, man. This is where you can find them at. It's Urban Honey. I'm grateful to have them as a sponsor on the show, as well as also I want to give a shout out to Global Plug. That this is a place where you can grow your business, you can grow your brand, you can connect with other people, and make your business global, worldwide. Connect with people in the same business that you are, network, and get some things done. Global Plug. I always have to thank them. These are my sponsors of the show. These are people that have been sponsoring me religiously ever since I was Jihad Live or the Uppity Negro when I first started doing the podcast thing. So I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors, man. I thank you all very much. Man, it's always glad to have my people back in the building. Listen, man, always like, share, and subscribe to the show. Make sure you got on your notifications. A lot of times people say they have on the notifications, but they're not getting the show. I think what it is, and I know sometimes a lot of the algorithm is controlled, because if I was doing some silly, stupid, pitiful, trashy, tacky, terroristic type things, I'm pretty sure my show will probably pop up. Although, I'm still new at this podcast thing and my following is not that large yet, but hit your notifications. And when you go to hit the notifications, look up in the corner. There's a bell. I think you got like a specific type of notifications that you get. Make sure you click on all. So therefore, anytime I load up the show, you'll know it comes up. And I'm not going to really be doing too many announcements, man. Once it's up, I'll just let you all know and go check it out, man. And always tell a problem solver to come on in. Also, too, man, on IG, please give me a follow at Humanity Works Podcast. Sometimes I'll be doing some lives there. Everything won't always grace the platform, man. And a lot of the music that you heard, man, the music has been by Mo Banger Beats. But the last, today, what you hear is actually from my own son, Hyde Esco. He's the one that was responsible for the intro music. Also, if you have any questions, if you would like to sponsor the show yourself, if you would like to see certain topics discussed, maybe even become a guest on the show, please, by all means, hit up the email if you want to set up one-on-ones. And also for any booking or any speaking engagements or any appearances, this is where you can send all the information where we can do business, and we'll make it happen from there as well, too. But yeah, man, like I always say, man, I'm glad to have you all back in the building. And I want to go ahead and get this thing capped off today, man. But listen, what I really want to talk about today, man, this is a very near and dear subject to me. And everybody and their mama know that I care a lot about the youth, right? But there's something that we have to fundamentally discuss. I named this show, man, The Children Would Come to Burn It Down. And the reason why I say that, man, when we look at a lot of stuff going on in our communities, man, with our youth, man, so many people are so critical. So many people don't even want to understand what the root cause is. Now, you all know that if you follow this show, you know exactly what I know what the root cause, what I'm going to say what the root cause is, and that's basically based on the evidence. So basically, man, let me just get into the spiel. So one day, I was at work one morning and I was riding down I-20 East. There we go again. Every time I go live, man, my throat want to dry up. So I was riding down I-20 East, and I go this way to go pick up some commodities, for the company that I work for. I got off at the exit and stopped by a local McDonald's, which every morning I stop there to get my oatmeal, get some water, orange juice, whatever the case may be. This particular morning, I stopped by and I was waiting on my oatmeal, and three young black males were in the parking lot. Well, the driver parked in the middle of the parking lot. Didn't even park. Just parked in the middle of the parking lot. People, cars trying to go around and get in the drive-through line. He didn't care. He just parked in the middle of the parking lot. So three black males emerged from the car. They come into the McDonald's. I make eye contact with them. Now, anybody that knows me know that the minute I make eye contact with just people in general, don't have to be black people, I'm always acknowledging and say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? This, that, and the third. And I will always just speak to people. Well, all of them mean mugged me. One by one as they came into the store. They mean mugged me and they sized me up. And yeah, they were of the typical look, twisting the hairs. One had long locks. I don't say dreads because nothing dreadful. There's nothing dreadful about our hair, and it was sagging. And the crazy thing about it is they sagging in skinny jeans, man, with they butt pretty much hanging out. But anyway, that's no big deal to me. That's just where they at as the generation, and that's how they rock. I'm standing there and being sized up like that, being the individual that I am, the competitor that I am. And I ain't the tallest guy and I ain't the biggest guy. I've always had to fight because, I've always been sized up. Now I've been triggered. I kind of want to say something smart and slick to try to lure them in because I knew, and not being cocky and arrogant, especially with today's generation, most of them anyway, I knew I could take all three of them. You understand? I didn't do that. I just started to have compassion. I tried to understand what the root cause of that behavior comes from. And so while I'm standing there, and I'm trying to calm down, I'm just driving and I'm thinking to myself, I noticed with today's youth, there is no longer no respect for the elders. There is so much disrespect. There is even violence been engaged upon elders. None of the youth want to hear anything that we have to say. They don't want to take advice from us. And in some cases, for very good reason. Bad customer service. There's no value in those who came before them. It's like they carry this attitude of entitlement, like they've been in the world longer than us and they can tell us a lot about life, right? And I think a lot of times with today's generation, with today's youth, man, when you look at TV and social media, a lot of times they like to liken themselves to the reality of that of the European child and the concept called America. And nobody's really telling them the truth because most non-white people, when they raise their children, the number one thing that they don't do with most of their children is they don't tell them the truth. They think they're too young to know, or they think that it's just some information that is just too unbearable to tell them. So a lot of times I think that as they get older and they start to see results, man, don't come the same as it does with the European child. It leads to a lot of hostility. It leads to a lot of anger. This is one of the causes why we see a lot of our children in these subdivisions, in these neighborhoods and in, urban areas, there's always engaging acts of violence upon one another. Chicago, 60 shootings on the weekends, Atlanta, Miami, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, my hometown, California, Texas, just all throughout the nation, and even down in Florida and the Carolinas, all throughout the nation, our youth are out of control. Our youth are hurting and our youth are angry, right? But now, I'm not going to just put it upon them because when I was coming up, my father never told me anything wrong. I didn't always listen to my father. Sometimes I just thought that, Dad don't know what he's talking about, man. It's a new generation. It's a new day. That's old school, right? Come to find out, man, 30, 40 years later, my dad was right. Nothing he ever told me came back wrong. And now we're experiencing the same thing with our youth today, but on a whole different level. See, when we were coming up, man, when we had our elders, we may not agree with everything that they said and done, but we still respected and we loved our elders. And coming up in our day, we wouldn't get slick at the mouth. I was terrified to talk to an adult crazy and wrong because I come from an area that, in my neighborhood or just in any parts of the black community across America, that if you got out of line, somebody, any adult, any right-minded adult was allowed to whoop your ass. And when they take you to your parents, they will tell your parents, I just whooped their ass. And our parents were like, you sure? I need to whoop it some more? That's the area that we come from. But nowadays, especially with the young babies and the adults and these babies having babies, there's a song by Terry Tate that I think a lot of people need to go and reference, right? Called Babies Having Babies. And when I heard that song in high school years ago, I clearly misunderstood the message of that song. I thought he was just talking about youngsters, and ain't no way a baby can have a baby. But what he was referring to was the mental landscape of people that were having babies before they were even adults. I think the scientists say that, the mind is not really developed, especially in males, until the age of 25. The frontal lobes are not all the way fully developed, and this is where we make a lot of bad decisions. And even in the ISIS papers written by the late brilliant mind of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she also advised that non-white people don't even make children, before the age of 30. But here's the thing. So what I gather, because, I see that the youth go at us physically nowadays. I see the youth go at us intellectually nowadays. And there's a lot of hurt and pain, right? Our children have come back to burn down the village because we're not embracing them when they're young. And I've always said, what happens to the kids who are not athletes? Our community really embraces and cherishes the athlete or the kid that can sing or the kid that can dance or act. But what happened to the kids who are not athletic? What happened to the kids who are not musically inclined, who are not maybe genetically inclined to be a great dancer? What happens to these kids, right? And we also have to look at the dynamic of things. But let me say this. Let's make some comparisons, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of the youth, since you all think you are so advanced and you're so wise and you're brilliant beyond your years, as if we don't know nothing, let's make some comparisons. Now, early before the show really began, I flashed something in the background that said the generations do become wiser and weaker. Now, the youth today have accomplished some great things. We're looking at the millennial generation. This millennial generation is all about entrepreneurship. They're all about generational wealth. When I was growing up, these things were not discussed. It was about getting a job, saving money, and doing the best that you can, get a worker, work to retire and get a pension and things of this nature. But today's youth, they're on something totally different. They think more highly of themselves to work at a McDonald's, which now McDonald's is paying 20 some dollars an hour. But they were all about entrepreneurship. They begin to discover beyond the parameters of religion. They begin to discover beyond the parameters of what parents were teaching them. That just didn't work for them. Because nobody, let's just keep it a buck, nobody really raises their children the same way that they were raised. There's going to always be something that you didn't agree with that your parents did that you're not going to do with your children. But I give this generation so much credit, and they deal with things differently than what we did, but their minds are brilliant, right? And then the generation before that, you had the baby boomer generation, you had the Z generation, you had the X generation, which I think I might have been a part of, right? And then you had those of us who come up through the civil rights struggle, the Black Power movements, right? So let me engage on this for a little second, because a lot of times with the youth, when it comes to being disrespectful to us, when it comes to being mean to us, when you see us, you give us no great customer service. You don't value you don't value the elders in your community like you do of the white community. This is a fact. This is true. Let me run some things down to y'all. The difference between us and y'all, we have family values. In most of our communities, we did have single parent homes, but for the most part, it was a man and a woman. No black women were running around at that time talking about they didn't need a man. No black women were running around at that time trying to be masculine or try to get in the way of the man leading the house, whether it come to disciplining us, whether it come to teaching us how to be a man, showing us manly skills and stuff around the house. But is that not what happens nowadays? That's the same thing that happens nowadays, correct? Right? And I know many women gonna say, well, men ain't in the home no more. But if you don't understand how white supremacy racism works, they're not going to be in the home. But that's a whole nother discussion. And I'm not taking accountability off of black men who need to stand up for their children. Because 9 times out of 10, with today's generation, the atomic family, the man may not be in the home of that biological child, but you got a man that you sleep with, you got a man that you dating, or even if you got uncles, brothers, or whatever, that's going to always be a male figure for that child. So let's not even go there. But getting back into family values, we were all born and raised in church. We went to church on Sundays, our communities, we were disciplined. We didn't get out of line. If there was an issue, one father would take his son and get his other son to take the other father take his son. We meet in the street and we duke it out. Sometimes with gloves, sometimes bare knuckle. In our communities and family values, we had men in the neighborhood, who were masculine. We saw the definition of a man. We didn't see obesity. We didn't see guys walking around in slippers with their toes out, with bellies and guts. We didn't see that growing up in our neighborhood. We saw masculine black men, well in shape, big, strong, muscular looking, working on cars, working on the house, working around, working on just anything that needed to be repaired and fixed. Sometimes, riding through the neighborhood on our bikes, our chain to pop, and one of the elders to come out and fix it for us and get us back on our way. That's not anything you see anymore now today in the communities, right? Or even when it come to dating. There was once upon a time where a black woman didn't look upon a black man in disgust and anger, right? And resentment. There was actually a time that a heterosexual man could step to a quote unquote heterosexual woman and it be embraced. And a man would step with grace, class, and style. Back in them days, we would be nervous because women demanded more than just for you to have money, just for you to have a certain grade of hair or the length of your penis. There was more things there were things that were more simple than all these major requirements that some women and men on the scale when it comes to women have these days. We went to shows, we did things like we did picnics, we rode bikes together, right? So when it came to dating, things were more embraced. The interaction was a little bit different and it was more embraced. It was more love. It was more compassion. It was more warm. But now what do you see today? Black woman can't even stand to look at a black man. If a brother try to holler at a sister, sometimes just to even tell you, hey, your hair looks nice today, it's not even well received. Or if you hold the door, there's no thank you, right? Or the way that black men love the women, I didn't hear the word bitch a lot. I didn't hear black men call women bitches coming up a lot in my day and era. But ain't that what you hear now? A lot of y'all young men, y'all call y'all women bitches like they ain't nothing. But I notice you don't call white women that. The music that you listen to, let's talk about that. It's the most destructive bullshit I ever heard in my life. And you all follow this and thinking this is real life. But we can't get off the hook either, because my generation was the first generation of gangster rap where you can hear profanity on record. So we're gonna take a bite out of that apple right along with y'all. But then when we look at our music in our time and era, it was all about unity. It was about black power. It was about being black and proud, and black is beautiful. You know, sisters and brothers, they dug the fro. We dug the cornrows, which we used to call them plaits. We dug the natural. What you got nowadays? Wigs, long lashes, long nails, a lot of makeup. And I tell sisters all the time, makeup was not originally meant for you because you age differently than any other women on the planet. But what you get a lot of backlash, you get a lot of back kick nowadays because you don't know that you're beautiful enough just the way that you are. But in my day, along with the elders and those of us who are older than y'all, black was beautiful, and black women didn't need a lot of additives. They didn't need BBLs. They were happy with whatever ass they had. They were happy with whatever breast that they had. Now, of course, we've always had women who like attention. And also, just giving a little fairness to the youth, there was no internet. There were no cell phones. But for some strange reason, we got along in life fairly well. Look at the communication between people nowadays. Most people text. They don't even know how to talk anymore. You can't even have a conversation with a youngster nowadays, or people of this generation. In my generation, we knew how to talk. We knew how to immaculate ourselves. All the movies that y'all like, right? All these gangster movies, all these Mac Daddy movies, they came from the 60s and 70s because black men knew how to talk. They knew how to Mac to a woman. And Macking to a woman ain't necessarily talking about trying to pimp a woman, but we knew how to talk. We knew how to interact with one another, right? Or, like I said, with the music, it was more meaningful. It was about love. It was about family. It was about revolution. It was about wartime. It was about being proud of yourself. And our singers could actually sing. There was nobody with auto tunes. They actually played instruments. Most of my favorite artists had six piece, 6 to 7, 12-piece bands, right? When you went to a show, there was no lip syncing. There was actual vocals, right? Now we talking about generation now. Since y'all so much greater and think you can't respect your elders and where you come from, right? Let's talk about the gangsters. Let's talk about street shit. Y'all can relate to that, right? Ratchet stuff, right? My gangsters were different than your gangsters, right? Your gangsters walking around feminine as hell in tight jeans with a purse, with a gun in the satch. And that's the gangsters that y'all look up to. But let me tell you about my gangsters. Let me tell you about the founding member of the Crips. Let's talk about Tookie Williams. I reference him a lot, right? Back in those days, a lot of y'all youngsters run around here talking about you Crips and this, that, and the other. You don't even understand where it came from. You know what I'm saying? The Black Peace Stone Rangers, the Vice Lords, the Gangster Disciples, right? All these gangs were created to fight against white gangs and white mobs. You youngsters running around here calling yourself Crip don't even understand that the word Crip originally meant community, revolution, and progress. That's what the word Crip meant. Gangs were never meant to take each other out left and right. But then again, this is what y'all generation embraced, but my generation stood for something completely, totally different. Or let's talk about sports, right? Let's talk about generational sports. Now, a lot of times sports have evolved. I hear it all the time, right? Our generation to kick your generation butt. And we thought the same thing when it came to our parents. We thought we were better than this, that, and the third, right? But I don't think that's necessarily true. See, first of all, you like your sports figures because they can play ball. We loved our sports figures because they stood up for rights. They stood up for justice. They stood up for freedom, justice, and equality, right? Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, right? Oscar Robertson. That's the reason why Negroes are getting these multi-million-dollar contracts, right? Craig Hodges, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, all right? I won't even call him by his former name. Go study these people. We had these people way before the Kaepernicks, way before the Kyrie. See, y'all turn y'all back on Kyrie. We would never turn our back on our athletes who stood for freedom, justice, and equality, fighting for the people. You see the vast difference in it. You see why it's a reason that you should respect your elders. See, I say it all the time. And like when it did come to sports, let me tell you another thing too. And I tell y'all all the time, all my young guys that watch this, they probably gonna talk shit to me when they see me. But I guarantee you all might be better skill-wise, right? And you all might have evolved football, basketball, baseball. Y'all do some phenomenal things. I love today's youth, right? But let's make the comparison. The number one reason why we kick y'all ass and leave you dusted on the field, whether it's the gridiron, whether it's the basketball court, is because our parents were different. Your mama crying and upset because the coach yelled at you. My mama embraced and celebrated the fact that she had a coach that would get in our ass. And guess what? When our coaches kicked our ass, we kicked everybody else's ass, including the white boys, because the white boys are kicking y'all ass nowadays because the day's generation has taken on the European way of raising the child, be more sensitive. I don't believe in whooping my child. I don't believe in doing these things. And now your child kicking your fucking ass. And you don't have a clue. You don't know what to do about it. Not us. Not us. We and now we were raised a certain way, and that grit is in us, but it's not embraced by the youth. But again, y'all so advanced, y'all so educated, right? Let me tell you something. My brother played for a guy named Arby, EIE the coach Arby, right? And he actually looked like the Arby beef on a burger. He was that big, and I mean, Arby was a dude. But you know what? Whenever my brother's football team did wrong or didn't get a play right, Arby would line each and every single kid up and take a belt and strap them across the ass. And you know what happened? Not a mommy or a daddy said nothing, not a word. Again, give me a good reason why you should not respect the former generation. Give me another reason why you shouldn't respect your elders. We come from a different cloth that you probably will never know nothing about unless it's carried on through family traditions in a good way, but not in a bad way, because we know some traditions just need to die and be gone forever. What I'm trying to get you all to understand is that before you all carry on throughout society and can respect the elders and those who are older than you, I'm telling you that you need to study your history and find out that every generation prior was superior for the one that exists now. The generations will get wiser. There's going to be some things y'all going to figure out that we ain't going to figure out. Y'all are going to not make some of the mistakes that we made. This is true. But you better go back and do your history and find out the things that we dealt with, even the ones who came before me. I would never know what it's like to look at a burning cross in front of my yard. I would never know what it's like to walk home from church and see low-hanging fruit in the form of a black body in church clothes hanging from a tree that's been there for days. Can you imagine the trauma young black boys and girls used to see walking to school and see one of their own hanging from a tree, but it was left there to put fear in the other Negroes? You would never know nothing like that. So why wouldn't I respect my elders? Do you know a lot of times when I got sick, right? A lot of times that I got sick coming up, my mama didn't always rush us to the hospital. Mama would call Big Mama, and Big Mama always had a remedy or a way to heal us without a needle or a pill. A little something y'all don't even know nothing about, right? You still don't think you need to respect your elders in the generations before you? Listen, there's always been a fight in our community for freedom, justice, and equality because we deal with the system of white supremacy. But the one thing no generation has figured out yet is how to solve that problem. So I can't say that one generation is better than the other, but one generation needs to be respected and honored and saluted like the other ones. A lot of y'all see when you lose a grandmother or great grandfather, it hurts you. And you know why it hurts you? Because nobody else that you know, including your own mother and father, had the wisdom that Big Daddy or Big Mama had. They have stories to tell you on the plantations. They got stories to tell you that will blow your mind of terror that they survived. So even though now we live in a day of technology, cell phones, smart TVs, electric cars, understand one thing. There's a common wisdom, common history, common traditions that none of these things that exist today will ever be more superior than that. And the reason why you need to respect your elders is because when they make a transition from the physical realm, they have literally important information that you need to know and learn about yourself. I need you all to understand one thing. Now, I'm not saying that this is like a real bad problem because a lot of the young people that know me, they call me OG. They call me Pop. They call me Unc. And I wear it with pride because I care about y'all and I love y'all. And I want y'all to understand that when I'm saying these things, I'm not coming from a place of anger. I'm coming from a place of you need to consider rearranging your thought process and realigning the way that you conduct and interact with the elders you see in your community. Never will we in our day watch a man beat up on a woman. What happens today? A man come and beat up on a woman. There's laughter and people pulling out phones. We would never do no shit like that. We actually would whoop that man's ass for even touching a woman. What happened to this? Still don't think you need to respect and honor your elders? There's a lot that goes on today that people just don't understand. There's no unity in certain fights. Everybody's different now. And I understand a lot of y'all now, y'all done went to these PWIs and you got a college degree and you got a body of information and you read books and you have a certain level of diction and you're smart. No. Because most of y'all who's running around thinking you're so advanced and life is just moving on and you got all this formal education, you the worst mother. You the worst father. You don't know nothing about solving the problem in your community. You don't know nothing about solving the problem in your very own house with all that book knowledge that you got. You probably should have listened to Big Mama. Probably should have stayed and wrote down notes from Big Daddy. Your great aunts and your great uncles who are passed on that you just thought that they come from the yesteryear. It's primitive. That's old and outdated. No, it's not. Because there's some things that your parents have told them that told you that you can still use and apply to this day. Common courtesy, common decency. Your attitude determines your attitude determines your altitude in life. That's common. That's an age-old proverb, right? So I'm asking you all, and I'm pleading with the youth, whoever sees this video, sit down and talk to one of your elders. When you see them struggling in the street, help them out. You understand? Some of our elders in the community, nobody even checks on them. Nobody even knows if they're alive. Nobody even knows if they're eating. We see one of our own walking down the street, one of our elderly, we laugh at them. You know what the white folks do in their community? Because I know some of y'all need to hear this comparison, which it ain't really no comparison. They're going to embrace their own kind to take care of them. If they don't do nothing less than put them in a great community or residential or home to where they get the best treatment, what do we do with our elders? How many times I got to look on social media to see young people taunting an elderly black man, or an elderly black woman who they know is on drugs having an episode. And you pull out your phone and you record that. Never in our day would we do that. We would embrace them. We would get them help. We would get them seen. And I'm gonna tell y'all another thing, man. I told y'all, man, and I think it's in First Timothy, the 2nd chapter, like 1-7. It talks about these days and times, and I see that behavior in our youth. I actually see it in the adults. But you need to slow your roll, calm down, and salute and respect your elders. Have we and those who are older than me made mistakes? Of course we have. Have we not always not always been honest and told y'all the truth about things? Of course not. And I, for myself, apologize. Have the elders always got it right? Have you been traumatized? Have you been put in positions that you shouldn't have been in as a child? Of course you have. And that's why you came back to burn the village down. See, now let me talk to the adults. Our children are burning the village down through black-on-black violence, drug addiction, teen pregnancy. You understand? All types of just hostility, anger, suicide, changing of sexual orientation, identifying with certain things that we've never heard of. Highly influenced by a Eurocentric society, highly influenced by Eurocentric values that we've lost control of. I always say we reproduce our children biologically, and then we turn them over psychologically for this world and the society to raise. Are you all still sitting down with your children on weekdays and reading books, or do you just give them a bowl of food and sit them down in front of the TV or give them their cell phone and you let the cell phone and the TV raise them? How is it that you're on TikTok? How is it that you're on TikTok more than the fucking youth? How is it that a 50-year-old woman favorite artist, a trap artist, or you in the basement shaking your booty because your daughter had a sleepover and you want to show how young you are? You automatically just lost the youth. They have every right to be upset with us. Why haven't you told them the truth? Why haven't you reached out to their father or the mother? Men. I don't care if you don't get along with that mother or not. You are still obligated to deal and raise that child. I think Nas said it. Too many of us are living a second childhood, and we expect these kids to get it when they don't, because they're looking at you, but there's no wisdom. You bear no wisdom for them to draw from. And you think they ain't going to come back to burn down the village. They standing there looking at us with torches in their hand, ready to burn down the village. These are our babies. We brought them into the world. They wanted answers. You wouldn't give it to them. They were hungry and want to be fed. You wouldn't feed them. They were ready for wisdom with ears, and you didn't speak. But what did you show them? You showed them how sexy you are. You showed them that you're getting money. Social media is the one thing I say Negroes are more committed to than anything else. But we completely neglected our children. If the adults want to live a second childhood, where do our kids draw their wisdom from? The child that is not embraced by the village will come back to burn it down so it will feel its warmth. Are you paying attention to the children in your neighborhood? Do you ask them how they feel? Do you embrace them? Or when you at a quick trip getting gas and you see one of the kids standing in line smelling like weed with his pants sagging, with his hair braided, do you just cast him off as a nothing? Not knowing that that kid is probably brilliant, smarter than you, but because of their appearance, you write them off. And a lot of times they look for us for help. They look for us for guidance. They look for us for compassion. They look for us for understanding. We have to get over this. Listen, I mentioned some things about the wardrobe. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I would never dress like that, but we don't know. In our generations, I think we were the first ones to start sagging in khakis and dickies. These kids didn't just start this. They seen us do these things. And my brother Rob Love says it all the time. We were the worst generation of parents. And I agree. We were the worst generation of parents. I have 7 children. One's my step, but I don't call him a step. I have 7 children, and I never married the mothers. I'm a horrible father. I'm a horrible man for that. I'm not a bad man, but I'm horrible for that. My brothers married the women they got children by. I admire that. I didn't pull that trigger. Our generation was some of the worst parents, and we gotta swallow that pill. I'm not saying that we wasn't great parents to a degree. We didn't do good things. But this is where we lost, man. Women complaining about men nowadays, but are we not dealing with the generation of men who women said they didn't need a man? The children are lost and the boys are angry and don't know which way to turn. But is this not the generation of men who still wanted to stay in the street being pimps, thugs, hustlers, and gigolos? And women embrace that shit. Are we not dealing with those babies right now of that generation? I think we are. We've lied to our children. We've let them down. I can't be mad at these people for being angry. A lot of times, their anger, their resentment, and hostility is not necessarily so based because it's you. It's a root cause of what they've been lacking, what they wanted growing up. I rock with the youth. They different. There's a lot of things that they do to me that's weird. But I rock with them. I would never turn my back on them. I do have my days like you where I be like, damn, I want to beat this little nigga ass. I do. I feel like that a lot of times. Or I really just want to sit this young lady down and just snatch that bullshit off her head. Because she's seen every woman that she looks up to say, you know what, your number one priority should be the way that you look, what you look like, not what you think like. Spend more time worrying about what's on your head than in it. And then we wonder why there's a whole other generation of babies that don't get it. You look on social media, you see a 3-year-old kid cussing, and we laugh at it. Smoking a cigarette, and we laugh at it. Drinking beer, and we laugh at it. But it ain't no laughing matter when that same kid is coming back to burn the village down. Because we thought it was cute. This really ain't on the youth, ladies and gentlemen. This is on the adults. I don't waste time no more dealing with broken adults, and neither should you. What we had better start doing is spending our time dealing with the youth. All of our attention and focus needs to be on our youth and healing our youth. Because if not, they're going to come for us. I got youth come for me all the time, especially on the intellectual level. And I listen. I'm not saying they don't know nothing. They see things that we probably missed over, right? But I have to embrace that. I gotta eat that. I gotta eat that apple. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? And all it is pain. But let me say this to today's generation. While you all have made a lot of mistakes, like we've made a lot of mistakes, right? And there's some results that's going to come behind some of the things we did wrong when it comes to these babies. For all the criticism that you have of today's adults and the elders, I got one question. Will your children be singing the same tune about you 20, 30 years from now? Can you solve some of the problems that some of our children are going to face in your generation? There ain't no sense of criticizing us because on a basis of you have issues if you don't solve that problem yourself. Somebody said something had a post that got real saucy, real spicy. Man, I told her, I don't know who it was, but just make sure 20 years from now, your child ain't singing the same tune that you singing about this generation and beyond right now. We all dealing with traumas. We all dealing with past hurt and pains. But how long you gonna carry that shit with you through life? This is for the old and the young. The Bible even talks about man will be against woman, child against the parent. This is where we're at now, right now, in a society of people. The adults of the youth are against the adults. It's like a war. We already got black men and black women can't stand one another, don't know how to love each other, and don't want to because you don't get attention for being happy. You don't get attention for being in a healthy, wholesome relationship, right? So all I'm saying is, and this is to the adults, we have dropped the ball. Stop criticizing these babies because their behavior ain't nothing but a root cause of the things that they've been lacking. All these years, you had a talented child and never once invested in them. You didn't put them in those sports. You didn't put them in a program to learn computers or robotics. Your kid telling you a whole time he was in high school, he wanted to go to the STEM program, but you just couldn't skip going to the bar to be seen by some nigga you ain't gonna never marry for your child. Oh man, I'm going there. Same thing with the men. I notice most of the men who never really get involved with their child, when you really meet that child is so gifted and talented. I don't understand for the life of me why a man wouldn't want to be involved in this child life from day one. It's the most beautiful thing ever. I love my babies, but I still ain't been the perfect parent. I still have made a lot of mistakes and done the wrong thing. And let me tell you something, man. The most liberating thing I've done in my life? I kid you not. And for years I said I wasn't gonna do it. I apologize to my children. When I apologize to my children, you talk about a burden being lifted up off somebody. Because my own children were angry with me. Love starts in the home. I can't be out here telling the rest of y'all to get y'all shit together and mine ain't together. Love starts in the home. I had to go back and tell my babies I'm sorry. I thought I was doing it right. A lot of things I did wrong. When my son went to college, I couldn't understand why I wasn't hearing from him no more. He couldn't wait to get away to college so he can get away from me. And the whole time I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing as a father, and I did this, beating my chest. And my son simply just wanted to get away from me because a lot of things I was toxic about that turned him off. All my children. And I suggest that even if you do think that you have been a great parent, because a lot of y'all are, right? I suggest you sit your children down and talk to them and ask them, what could have I done better? What could have I done different? And if I done anything wrong, I apologize. We can't allow our babies to keep burning down our village. If they burning down our village, that's on us. Blink 182 is a rock group. Y'all listen to rock and roll. Yes. But they had a song. I don't know the name of that song, but I remember the chorus said this. He said, and he was speaking on the behalf of the youth. He said, if we're fucked up, you're to blame. That is a very true statement. If we don't get involved with our babies and do the right things, where they do respect the elders, where they do honor us, where they do embrace us, where they do give us an ear to hear wisdom and show them the way, because we know life is going to change. Nothing stays the same forever. Then you might as well expect that they will come back to the village to burn it down. Each and every show, man, this show right here, man, I want to dedicate this right here, man. This is, I have to dedicate this show to two great men who's impacted my life. First one, man, this being my grandfather, the great Reverend C.H. Thames, man, born in Union, Mississippi, man. And my grandfather, man, he only had a 4th grade education. He was born November the 10th. He was also a Scorpio, just like me, man. But he raised 9 children, father of 9 children, moved to St. Louis, Missouri, pastored 2 churches, one in St. Louis and one down in Cape Girardeau, worked for Bi-State all those years, bought property and houses for his children to live in as they got older, and still was able to run a church. So, and back in them days, he was the pastor of New Emmanuel Baptist Church in Wilson, Missouri, and also ran for councilman. So he was also involved in politics because he believed in community. He believed in the people. He believed in the youth. I could recall my grandfather, the church would have a summer camp every summer for the kids of the community. We had T-shirts, our own special T-shirts, because we were split up into groups. And I specifically remember from the church and up the street at Central, I think it was a middle school, right there on Chatham in Wellston. I'm sorry, was it Chatham? Is it Chatham? I know dang well I ain't forgot the name of the street, but I think it was Chatham in Wellston, Missouri, where New Emmanuel Baptist Church is. But we had a lunch, we had breakfast, we had lunch and the evening snack, and it was for free. So a lot of you pastors in mega church, y'all need to learn from that model. It was all about the people. My grandfather impacted this community to the point that the story has it, which is a true story, is that one night he was in church one night and he was robbed of some young man in the community. And I believe my grandfather, they said he knew the young man. He wouldn't give up the identity of the young man. But when people in the community found out, they came for the young man. That was respecting their elders. That was honoring the elders and the elderly of the community, because for back in them days, my grandfather and pastors alike cared about the community, and they cared about the youth. So I want to give my grandfather his props. His birthday just recently passed on November the 10th, and I want to honor this man. This man is a legend. This man was God in the flesh when he existed. All right. The second person I want to dedicate this show to is his son, my father, my daddy, Red Rooster. I'm glad to have been blessed with a grandfather and a father as such. As you can see by the look of my daddy, look, my daddy was one of them, which you know how we say in our community, them red niggas is crazy. And he was damn so one of them. That's how he got the name Red Rooster. But one thing I could always say about my father, growing up, my father was not he was not the really soft pity pat type dude. You know, rarely hardly ever said I love you, right? But I felt the love, you know. But my daddy raised me in a way that if I had it to do over again, I would want him to raise me the same way. He didn't play no games. He hardly laughed. He would laugh and joke, you know, at times when the family was around. He was a goofy dude, but my dad was serious. He was serious, and he put the seriousness in me. He put the fear of God in me. Look at him. He put the fear of God in me, and that was my daddy. Nobody tested my father. Not no punk in the community, not none of these so-called gangsters. Listen, something I forgot to mention earlier. Listen, in them days, man, and see, young brothers, y'all have to gain y'all respect back, man. Y'all got to get back in the gym, get your bodies together, get your mind right. White men did not test black men in the 70s. They wouldn't dare raise their hand above their waist to a black man. Nowadays, that ain't the case. These white men look at y'all and say, you know what, the black male today is a straight bitch. And they be whooping y'all ass. I see this every day. I see it on social media. And it's like, I've never seen that shit before in my life, before this generation. But I just wanted to make that little keynote. And I'm not saying all y'all like that. I know some of y'all some head busters. But getting back to my father, man, you know, my father was born on October 9th, 1948, man. He was a coach, 40 years, legendary coach in St. Louis, worked at the post office, also worked at McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, which is McDonnell Douglas, which is now known as Boeing today. My dad worked there. You know, he did whatever he had to do to survive and keep our family afloat. You know, even during times of unemployment, my daddy always found a way, knew how to survive. My daddy is a great businessman, always knew how to get money, had his own video company way before this thing blew up. My daddy was way ahead of his time, Chaz Photo Emporium. But this is my father. This is who make me who I am. And I love this dude, and I love this picture, man. Like, this picture is timeless, it's nostalgic, and it kind of give you a sense of the time, man. You know, my dad got the plaits. We call them plaits. Y'all call them braids, you know. So, you know, he was a very serious man, took care of his business, went to work, taught us how to fight, you know, kept us in shape, things of that nature. He wouldn't allow us to get our ears pierced. We couldn't get Jerry curls. So that's my daddy, man. You know what I'm saying? So I want to dedicate this show to my grandfather and my father, man, Red Rooster, man. That's one of the up close and personal gangsters I've ever known in my life, man. But he is a man of God, man. True indeed, man. And I love you, Pops. So, yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up, man. But I want y'all to understand, before I wrap this thing up, I want my young folk to know that I love y'all and I value y'all. Excuse me, I said that wrong. I value you all enough to love you all. I want to see you do good, and I want to see you be great. I embrace the difference of your generations. I embrace the way that y'all dress. I embrace y'all music to a degree. This is y'all time. This is what y'all about. But now I'm also giving you a CTA, all right? A call to action to become better. To become better at honoring your elders, listening to your elders, right? And some of them crackheads that y'all mock a lot, some of them crackheads that y'all make fun of in the neighborhood, they wasn't always on drugs. You better listen sometimes what they tell you. Sometimes listen to their story will keep you from getting in that same situation that they in. And remember that they still human. You know, guys, stop hitting on our women. Stop pulling your cameras out the next time you see a man jumping on a woman. Man, that's that punk shit. The world would never respect us. People are always talking about, well, this thing with Kyrie Irving and the Jewish community. You know, I don't blame the Jewish community for wanting their respect, right? Now, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But one of the reasons why the world don't respect us because we don't respect ourselves. We don't respect our women. We don't respect our men. We don't respect our elders. That needs to change. If you all generation is going to be the great generation that I know it can be, that I know it will be, the first thing you have to do first is be able to honor your elders and be able to take correction. Honor your elders. Have a conversation with your elders. Stop disrespecting your elders, right? Stop being mean to your elders. Be more loving, kind, and patient and compassionate with the elders, right? Listen, man, I didn't mean to run this long, but this was gonna be one of those shows, and I'm glad to have gotten this out of my system. And I want y'all to know that my platform is really shifting to the youth. I'm not gonna waste a lot of time with episodes and conversations on what the adults can't figure out because the youth are gonna figure it out. And every generation, even though you all become wiser, there's things that you're gonna deal with that every generation has its weakness. We dealt with our problems. You all pop pills, you know what I mean? Who knows what the next generation is gonna be doing? Who knows what type of music the next generation is gonna be listening to? And who knows what they're gonna be identifying as? But I want y'all to really understand, man, get into the essence of history and learn your ancestors, man, what they did, your elders, what they know, their wisdom, before we all make our move on to become nothing and return back to the earth. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. I think I said that backwards. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's where we all come from, dirt. Man is made from dirt. That's why when it rains, you get sleep because water suppresses the dirt and dust, right? Right. All right, man. Listen, I'm going to get out of here, man. And, hey, we're going to chop it up again, man. Until next time, man. Listen, this is the place where the problem solvers become the teachers, man. We bring it sexy back to the everyday hardworking men and women who impact your life within close proximity. Thank a hero today, man. Thank a medic, man. Thank a police officer, not a race soldier. Thank the fire department, man. A doctor, what I'm saying, or anybody, thank the cable guy. Where would we be without cable? You know what I'm saying? So, but just thank these people, right? Because these are the people who really are the ones that's going to impact your life before any of your favorite celebrities, any of your favorite entertainers, actors, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's been great. It's been grand. I got food I need to get to. Plus, I got to go to whack. I got to get up and go to whack tomorrow, y'all. I'm not rich yet doing this podcast thing. Because you Negroes won't hit your notifications and share it like my show. Punk ass. Anyway, man, it's been real. Peace.